the great and the Honorable Dr. Reverend Jeremiah Wright, former pastor of our now President, Barack Obama. Reverend Wright, first of all, the first question I wanted to ask you is, what brought you to Kansas City? And on top of that, what made you decide to go in the area of teaching that you did on this evening?
I was invited to come do the Emmanuel Cleaver lectures, and they are lectures on religion and public life. This is not the first lecture. This is following in a series of Joe Lowry, the Lawson brothers, and Myron McCoy, when he was the president of St. Paul Theological Seminary. Myron invited me. He has subsequently left the seminary, but the date had been set, the invitation, and I was to lecture on some aspect of African American faith, some aspect of African American life, and this country. That's what I was asked to lecture, so all I did was what I was asked to do.
Now, you are known in the religious circle worldwide, but obviously you came to fame in 2008.
No, the media tried to make me a scapegoat in 2008.
They did.
I came to fame long before that. We were on television every Sunday for 20 years. Not TBN, not the Word Channel. We were on the only black-owned station in the country. TV One, Catherine Hughes, every Sunday morning. So that we had, our church grew because of the media from the 1970s up until they started that foolishness in 2008.
Yeah, and what I want to ask you in regards to this, how has your life changed since all that?
I was retired when they started that mess. It's changed for the worse. They care. They're so egregious. They care nothing about what they do to my family, nothing about what they do to my children or my grandchildren. When I was coming here, there's a big flap about me coming here, and one of the white pastor of the church had to disclaim he had nothing to do with my being here. The Tea Party threatened to boycott today at the chapel, and the police were there. Everywhere I go, they go on the narrative. They know nothing about me, absolutely nothing about me. So it's made it a living hell. It's made it a living hell. Because when you go, in fact, this might be too long for your interview. Amal Tokar is an Iraqi scholar in Illinois, sent me a book, 2010 or so, called America and Iraq, Seduced by Fear. I don't know what I appreciated most, the book or what she said on the fly sheet. She starts off a book like Cat Williams. I'm going to ask you a question and say, I'll wait. I'm going to wait for an answer. How do Iraqi Christians celebrate Christmas? With the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Ethiopian Church, or the Roman Church? I'll wait. How do Iraqi Christians and Jews get along? I'll wait. She said, you don't know, do you? No, you don't know anything about Iraq. Most of you can't even find it on the map. All you know is the narrative that's been spun about Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction, which was a lie. Saddam Hussein been in league with Osama bin Laden, which was a lie. But once a narrative gets spun, from that point on, all you will hear is discussions about the narrative, deconstruction of the narrative, commentary concerning the narrative, arguments and debates about the narrative, nothing about the people, because you don't know anything at all about the people. She wrote to me, she said, Pastor Wright, a narrative has been spun about you in this nation. I've been to your church almost once a month ever since I've been here. I just slip in and worship. But nobody knows I'm Iraqi. Nobody knows I'm an Iraqi Christian. They don't know you. All they know is the narrative. And now that narrative has been spun, that's what it makes my life. I see people looking, I speak, and they turn their head because they don't want to be identified with that controversial, un-American. In fact, when I was at Howard University, I thought people in your field would do what they call fact check. Do you know who the first person to say goddamn America was? A white, respected theologian from Harvard University, William James, who said it in 1903. My church history teacher said to me, he said, yeah, Jeremiah, but he didn't have no candidate for the presidency in his pulpit, in his congregation. But no, it's been terrible. My granddaughter got into a fist fight at FAMU over people talking about the narrative. They didn't know me, and talking about her granddaddy. My granddaughter in a fist fight. The night of my baby daughter's senior prom, Fox News was parked across the street, taking pictures of her coming out the house. When I moved her into the quad at Howard University, Fox News was on the sidewalk taking pictures. And what kind of life is that? What kind of life is it? Because all they're going to do, in fact, one of the guys, one of your colleagues, we call him a saint in Caesar's household, he said, Pastor, whatever you say is going to be taken. If you say hello, they're going to say, hell, he's cursing again. Oh, he's telling Obama go to hell. He said, whatever you say, they're going to twist it.
Okay, now I only got a couple minutes left with you. Do you think, in just your opinion, that when the president leaves office, he'll come back and become a member of your church?
like I said, let me say this to you again. I was retired when they started. I have no church. I have not been in that church in 6.5 years. When the press started its foolishness, I was already retired. Yeah, so I have no idea, and I think about a lot. Sasha Malia, and how they've grown, and what the narrative has done to them in terms of that was their home church. That's where they were baptized. That's where they were christened. I don't know how that's going to affect. I don't know that they'll move back to Chicago. I'm not, so I have no.
And finally, because of the narrative that we've talked about, what do you want people to remember about you? What do you want your legacy to be when your time on this earth is gone and past?
My ministry helped somebody become what God intended for them to become. That's what I want my legacy to be. One of my favorite stories, he hates for me to tell it, is about one of my teenagers. When I went to the church, I came up to the church one night for choir rehearsals, the teenage choir, and I was sitting in the parking lot. I turned the motor off, listening to some doo-wops. And when the motor off, the lights were off. And Mike and his partner were drinking wine going into church choir rehearsal. They stuck the wine in the snow to keep it cold. I went and moved the wine, and they didn't know until many, many, many years later what happened then. But Mike not only went to law school, he became first chair in the U.S. Attorney's Office. He became a judge. This is my wine drinking kid. And the night his baby girl died, he ministered to me. He said, Rev, you preached a sermon. I'm saying to myself, this kid listened to my sermons. To know that what I said helped him to get through the death of his child, there's no money that can pay for that. He said to me that night, I took him away from his partners. I said, how you doing, man? He said, I'm fine. I said, you can't be fine. Your baby girl died today. He said, Rev, you preached a sermon on the power of prayer. And you said in intercessory prayer that we never pray for the person for real. We give God dictation and tell God what we want them to do in that person's life. He said, I didn't, until today, realize I've been doing that with my daughter. I've been telling God, don't you let her die. Don't you let my daughter die. It never dawned on me her organs were not developed. What kind of quality of life could she have? I said this morning when I left the hospital, Lord, please do for my daughter what's best in her life. And I felt a weight come up off my shoulders, Rev, because of you. I knew God was going to take her today. Thank you, man. Well, that kind of private, on the sidewalk at night, one night testimony makes ministry worthwhile. That's what I want to be remembered.
Well, Reverend Wright, I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming to Kansas City, and I thank you very much. The Dispatch Post is Darren Smith. Thank you. Have a blessed evening.